Welcome back to the Duo 3 YouTube channel. In today's video we're looking at a Emotator 1102 rebuild that I'm doing. So I'll take you through a few steps of what I've done so far. So we'll first look at the controller that will be used in this one. It's a standard controller, and it has on the back an 8-pin cinch plug, an IEC socket, and a shortened, as you can see, display adjustment, re-zinc plated back plate, and the actual base has been re-zinc, the whole chassis has been re-zinc plated. I've pre-placed the display in this one with a solid display. Getting hard to get hold of the really flexible displays for these. This is now illuminated with 4 little LEDs, so we'll get back to that later on. It has a surround guard in there as well. As you can see, I've got an LED for the brake engagement or brake disengagement here, so I'll show you more of that later on in the video when it's operating. We have the 8-pin cinch plug for the controller. Also, we have the 7-pin LTW Amphenol plugs and sockets for the rotator. We'll have a quick look at the casings. The casings have been completely stripped down, and then they were glass bead blasted, and then etch primed and painted in this hammer tone silver colour. The tracks and the wedge sections have been now cleaned up, and basically there. So it's just getting ready. Oh, I've put in here, we can't see down there, might be a bit too dark. I've put little locators for the socket, this socket here. So there's little cutaways on here to locate this, to hold in place so it doesn't turn. You can probably see them from the front there, the old screw holes. I've put stainless steel grub screws in there. The mast bracket is the original mast bracket these particular rotators come with a 10mm U-bolts and the original double-sided mast clamps. So the stainless steel bolts were all cleaned up in a special solution I use. So yeah, it's in really good condition, and it was glass bead blasted, etch primed, and painted in again the same hammer tone silver colour. Casings, the top casing, again it was all totally glass bead blasted, etch primed and painted, and basically the inside was done with it clear. The track was then cleared up, and this has now been painted with the same hammer tone or hammer tone silver paint, an epoxy enamel I use. The brake ring again was glass bead blasted, etch primed and painted. The inside was then resealed with a clear, same as I did in everything else. And basically then I painted the outside with this hammer tone colour, so it keeps it protected pretty well. So yeah, let's put that back over here again. The base plates, the silver, if I try not to flare this out too much, I cleaned this up the best I could. This is the base plate, goes on the very bottom of the main chassis. Had to re-rivet the locators and the pressure arms to keep the brake wedge in position. And this is the top plate for the gear chassis. So basically they're all, to stop them from flaring out, they're all like stainless steel, or I think they're stainless steel or whatever they are made out of. Okay, the motor is the standard 100-volt motor. It was totally stripped down, new bearings. The top and bottom casings again are aluminium, so they're glass bead blasted, and I painted them in the clear that I painted the internals of these with. And this bracket has been re-zinc plated, so that's it's all good there. Put back into there. The solenoid brake, which works that way, pulls the wedges out of the actual into the casing, so they pull it in like that. So this was totally stripped down, and everything was resin plated. I've made a new little bracket up to hold I put a plug on, I should say. I put a plug on to hold the wiring, because this wiring was damaged up in here. So I decided to cut this a little bit shorter and reposition the socket I've been putting on these things lately. So you can actually physically now remove the top engine and chassis and everything. You can leave the brake in, because normally you had to unwire everything or dewire everything, which was a bit of a pain, because they use a common negative and neutral wire in these. So as you can see, that's all been resin plated. I repositioned the springs. Normally I have two springs on one side. I decided to put a return spring on each side, because I normally have two on one side. I decided to make it a bit more even. It has made it a little bit better. So that's that done there. This is the limit lock ring, or limit ring, end of rotation limit ring, and heats the actual limit switches. These are the two wedges, so they'll go on to the end of they've been cleaned up, ready to go. They're in pretty good condition. Other parts are resin plated. This is the limit switch bracket. It was a little bit rusty when I got it, as you can probably see when it doesn't flare out. It's got a little bit of rust in where the limit switches. These are brand new limit switches. They'll be going on here, or micro switches. They'll be going on there like that. So I'll be going through the building process of this as well. Whole lot of parts and other bits and pieces in here. That's the limit switch activator. Again, it's all been polished up. The potentiometer arm and drive gear. And I had a whole assortment of bolts, nuts, screws and everything over here. Don't need to go through all those. We've got the potentiometer gear. I repainted the very back of it in a grey. It was a little bit rusty when I cleaned it all up and everything. Oh yeah, here we go. New easy somewhere. The last piece that was zinc plated. This is the little L bracket that holds this into position onto the chassis. So it actually a little right angle bracket. That was re-zinc plated as well. So there we go. So that's all the parts. Also, this top gear chassis was re-zinc plated as well. I think there was a little bit of sort of flaring out in the right position. There's a little bit of rust in a couple of places, but all in all it was pretty good condition. So this is the sub chassis. This sub chassis was again glass bead blasted, and as you can see it exposed a fair bit. There was a bit of electrolysis on here, so it exposed it all. I've actually resealed this whole thing with the same clear that I put on these, and it gives it a really good protection. So hopefully nothing like that happens again. So I'm going to show you what I've done to this. There's quite a few upgrades I've done on this. I'll take you for this, show you inside this, and you actually can see where the rust that actually got into it. But it's all re-zinc plated now, so it's all good. So we have all the gears here. These shafts, which I'll show you later on, have been fixed in. The first drive gear cleaned up and everything. Well, not the first drive gear, the final drive gear I should say. That's the final drive gear. So they've all been cleaned up, that one there. We have its drive gear, next one down. It's all in good condition. I've actually put my little spacer mod in here with, I also added a shim just to get the height exactly right, because this gear tends to want to sit and float around too much and rides on the edge here, and it can do that sort of stuff as it's driving around. So I spaced it up and put a spacer on there because I don't have it. The gear that drives that is, I have a little spacer in here. There's a spacer there. Pull the spacer out. And this gear here is my new stainless steel replacement gear to replace this gear. This gear is now, as it says here, stuffed. Or stuffed. It's a throwaway. The teeth have gone basically really pointed at the end, and there's stress fractures in the gears themselves. When I look really closely at them, you can see here some of these are, I'll put my hand behind it, maybe it might focus on it, try and get the light in the right angle. Worst part about it, this centre gear is in reasonable condition for these, so I might even be pressing that up one day, and I'll see if I can get in one of these gears to make it up. That'll be alright for the 502, which utilises the same sub chassis and everything. So getting back to my brand new stainless steel gear, this is a M49 SS, 3D printed, laser sintered metal gear, which I've cleaned a little bit more of this, so it makes it just polish up a bit better. It's got a recess in the bottom to get over this next gear, because you cannot change the spacing height up this way, I should say that way. So I get this, and I get that line up. If I didn't have the step underneath it, it would be quite high. It would be riding up in here, which would then hit the base of this gear. So after a bit of toing and froing, I was able to get the spacing exactly right. And basically this is now double the thickness, or just under double the thickness of that gear. And it's stainless steel versus mild steel, or whatever steel they made this punch things out of. So this is my new one. It's not exactly a cheap option, but getting a gear made up and stamping is even more expensive than doing it this way, for the initial ones anyway. So the next gear in line, as you can see, there's a bit of an arm on it, is in good condition. Been all polished up and everything. And then this is the next gear. This is what changes mainly for the 1102s. This gear and that next gear are different in the 1103s, and this one and that one are different in the 502s. So this is the main ones that they actually change around for the between each model. I can't get the last one off because I've got to remove that screw. I forgot to bring my screwdriver over, but I will go and get it anyway. I'll back in a sec. Forget to keep bringing tools over here. That's what I'm doing. So basically this is a mod that they do for these things. This is a little pressure release to keep the weight off this fast moving gear here. And that just puts a little pressure on the previous gear. That just lifts the previous gear, just keeps under a bit of pressure. Sits about there. It's got grease on it. And it just keeps the weight of all these heavy gears off the fast moving gear, which then doesn't load the motor up. That's what you don't want. So just a bit of might be brass or something special they're using, and then I've rolled the edges. Probably can't see it. I've rolled the edges so it actually physically can't move around as much, and it gets Loctited into position. So there we go. We can get the first gear off now. There's our first gear. Now the most important thing is I have affixed all these shafts into the housing. This one has been replaced. I had an old one of these shafts. I then got on my lathe and I made a new section up, and now, because normally it only goes in, this little short shaft only went down into here, short ways, I've actually physically made it go all the way through. Much better. So it's all the same length shaft, just a different taper on the top here slightly. So yeah, it just means that it's I tended to move around a fair bit because, you know, over time, this was made back in quite old, I suppose. This would be 70s at least, 1970s odd. So I've fixed these in by the normal way I do these things. You probably can see it maybe in here. You can see some grooves in here which I put in with a cold chisel and basically work my way all around, so it gives me splayed out V's all the way around the camera, and that increases its size because these are generally really loose, flopping around everywhere, and you couldn't do that. They'll just fall out, and then you couldn't even do this, they'd fall out. So basically the wear is getting to these because these would spin, which would then wear the aluminium. So now I glue and press these back in, so they're test fitted before they go in, and I get them to the point that I can press them in, especially with this one here, without damaging anything, but also not too loose that they're going to cause more damage. So basically, when they're right to go in, I glue them and press them in with a vise, and then I'll put a bit of glue around. Also then put the shims on here to keep the wear off the actual thing. So I glue this actually helps a little bit with the with holding these things in place, and then they won't come off. So basically that's sort of that department all done. So I'll be going away and going through an assembly process, and then that's shining into the camera. I'll turn that away. So I'll be going, and doing that, and I'll show you everything, assembly of all this, and later on I'll show you the everything working and the controller working, and all good. Okay, we shall catch you in the next part. Catch up, mate.